I want before Badi speaks on the music, I want him to jump on that conversation of African elegance, sartorial, Kitendisme, and tell us a little bit about that, because for the story, Badi and I started the whole. We actually shed light on a movement that died, or that was not dead within its, the consumers of that movement, but that was definitely looked down upon by many. And we have to give a big shout out to the brothers Sam and Shaka from Outcomes First, as well as Ama from Marché Noir in Paris, for really coming together with us and helping us put this vision into something practical, as well as the brother Badi will probably emphasize more on that. Please, Badi, speak on the Congolese approach to sapology.
Yeah. Okay, so me and Badi, we did a track together. It's been like 3 years ago. The name of the track is Kitendi. Kitendi is the original terms of sap, of the movement. In Congo, in Kinshasa, they call that Kitendi. Kitendi means le tissu. Comment on pourrait dire ça en anglais? Tissu.
Fabric.
It's fabric. Yeah.
Yeah. Kitendi means fabrics, and I grew up in that environment with my uncle. They were musicians. They were sapeurs. And I really like that kind of movement, and I started to doing some research about La Sap, about all the movement. And in the beginning of this movement in the Congo, we have a president, the notorious Mobutu. And back in the days, you have to wear abacos. All the men have the same. Have the have to wear like Mobutu, and les sapeurs, the Kitendi, the movement grew up in for some kids of Kinshasa back in the days, and it was more like a subculture. It was because everybody was wearing abacos, and they came with some brands, French brands, English brands, Italian brands, Japanese brands, and they make that movement that we call Kitendi. And that movement right now is a religion. It's a religion.
It is.
Yeah,
for real.
It's really
they
a
have a prayer
for some people. For some sapeurs, and there is a hit in the radio. I don't know if you know Maître Gims. He released a song. The name of the song is "Sapé comme jamais," and for me it was so folkloric. It was some folklore,
Mm-hmm.
It was like a joke, and I say, oh no, it's a serious movement. In fact, it's a serious movement, and we have to make something with that. And then I came to Badi, and I say, oh, I got this song. The name of the song is Kitendi, and we start and I start rhyming about Papa Wemba, about King Kester Emenea, about
Stavros Niarchos.
All the how to say that they make that movement.
The legends, yeah,
the fashion icons.
The fashion icons.
The icons,
but they were though, because and on top of that, if you remember, Badi, Jean-Paul Gaultier was actually giving clothes that he could not sell to anyone else, to the Papa Wemba and all those guys, because they were just ready to wear whatever was extravagant enough. And they were wearing with so much swag too.
And Yamamoto,
Yohji Yamamoto is true, yeah.
Papa Wemba was on the runway for Yohji Yamamoto back in the days. They are very connected, because when we talk about wearing, about fashion, for the Congolese, elegance is a way of life. Because when you are a sapper, I'm gonna say that in French because it's more fluent.
Not true.
You have to be bien sapé, bien chaussé, bien
well dressed,
parfumé, bien accompagné.
well fitted, and well accompanied.
It's not just
Kitoko.
have good stuff. It's a way of life. You have the good shoes, the good wife, the good car, and of course the good house. Not just wearing. It was very that's the sense of Kitendisme. But right now, in fact, it's more like I think the brother Coréon say that it's more like you have to be nice clothes to be respected. But in the beginning, it's not just about the clothes. It's about the way you're living, the way where is your house, where is your car, where is your shoes. It was not to devaluate some people or to say or just to show off. It was very that way of life. But in fact, the movement become like a joke for a lot of people because
it's bastardized.
Yeah. Because when we are talking about the Congolese, they're you Congolese, you look fly, man. but it's more than that. It's more than that. Yeah.
But that also is very connected to the history of the Congo Kingdom, and the connection of that region with aesthetics.
Drop knowledge on that, brother. Coréon Dú is jumping. Professor, please, Baba, go ahead. No, go ahead, brother.
So there's a connection. Yeah, no, there's a connection. The people, the Congo people, were kind of known for being very conscious about the whole experience they present, not only the way they look, but surroundings and things of that nature. So that's actually something that's quite common, which is why in that region, like Congo, Angola, etc., well, northern Angola, which was also part of the Congo Kingdom, there is that preoccupation of that, and also that concept of if you look good, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you make yourself smile by what you wear, or if you think you smell nice and you're making yourself feel good, you're also going to make your neighbor smile and feel good about themselves just by being there. So when people talk about energy, it's like that. Like I would say, maybe it doesn't translate across the board to everywhere, but at least in that region, in the Congo, Angola, etc., there is that aspect of how I make myself look and feel will directly impact everyone else around me and how my day goes and how my life goes.
Yeah.
So it's not just vanity. It's not just about being fly. It's about like I feel good. Oh, sorry.
About we don't take these things to us and celebrate them. I think that's the problem, because I hear you saying that it's kind of like people make jokes about that, but I remember this vividly that Paul Smith made an entire collection based on the years ago in Paris. In fact, there was I think there was a commercial of Guinness also with the Le Sapeur as well. So they take based on what is ours, really kind of bring it to you to say, oh, this is cool, while we don't celebrate it and say, wow, this is really our ancestor stuff. And that, again, it goes back. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, make our ancestors proud in a way that I'm going to represent the next product and way forward in terms of communicating what the brand is really bringing this part of little histories and kind of bring, there is another part that we're going to talk about in terms of like jewelries that we're making. The occupation and the Moorish people, which is the black people, ruled Portugal and Spain for all these years, that a lot of people are not familiar with those things, and bring some of those things to light and kind of talk about it. I think it's time for us to start celebrating what really made us who we are today. If we just had to keep this conversation within fashion, there's no place in fashion you're not going to go today to top where you're not going to get popular Black culture infiltrate into it. You know, there's almost none. You know, really. You know, so it's like whether it's the hairstyle or anything you could talk about, particularly today when you talk about streetwear. Ever since when, like, brands used to make like sneakers and all that stuff, they never used to do that. You know, it was all tapped into the Black culture. So my movement now, it's really into this. It's really discovering the deep history of Africa and trying to bring it in a way that obviously make it to today, modernize it, but also coming up with the history that because the product will wear out, but at least when you get the information out of it, it's something that you can, and that is, I think, is the new celebration of what we hope to get done with the new movement of Armando.
Yeah, that's
congratulations, brother Armando, for this new collection, man.
I'm familiar with.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was cutting. Sorry.
I think so. We'll see what happens, but it's exciting. It's exciting what's coming ahead. Yeah. Brother
Lono, what you got next? What you got coming up, man?
I always just want to say that, thinking back when everyone was speaking about, especially Badi, when he was speaking about sapeur and about how you dress, where you live, and all of these things. As I said earlier, I'm Creole, and when I think back to my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, and I look at photos and things like that, being in Louisiana, which is arguably the birthplace of jazz, influenced a great deal how everybody else in America wanted to dress, But I've never saw a photograph of my grandfather or my great-grandfather, any of them, without a shirt and tie and suit and hat. My grandfather, who I knew very closely growing up, I never saw him in a pair of sneakers, not even once. He didn't own a pair. He refused to wear sportswear. He didn't play sports, And the few guys that I knew that influenced me growing up, they were called sportsmen. They used to golf, which is why I golf now. But aside from that, shirt and tie and suit every day, man. Hat, everything, overcoat, gloves, scarf, all of it. And these weren't rich men. They were not rich.
About that as well.
You see? And so, this kind of thing, going back, what's that?
No, I said my father. I know all too well about that. My father was the same thing.
Yeah, and they weren't rich, and it was just the way you presented yourself and that appearance, And also too, I grew up very close to the Mosque Mariam #2, which is the place where started the Black Nation of Islam.
Brother Lono, you were breaking up. Can you repeat that?
Say the wrong thing. Everything went off.
No, you were breaking up. Can you repeat that? You repeat the whole sentence got chopped off. Your connection got lost.
Okay, so the neighborhood I grew up on the south side of Chicago, very close to me, was a place called Mosque Mariam #2, which was the headquarters for the Nation of Islam, which is where Honorable Elijah Muhammad started the movement, the Black Muslim movement in America, which gave birth to Malcolm X and Mosque #7 in Harlem. But I live very close to that. And so my neighborhood, the reason why I was able to avoid gangs and get in trouble is my neighborhood was primarily policed by the Nation of Islam. They call them the Fruits of Islam. And these brothers wore bow ties, they wore jackets. I mean, everybody was clean shaven. It was straight down the middle. There was no variations on that. As a matter of fact, just like the Jewish culture and religion, the young kids, even when they have PE, they have to wear hard sole shoes, white shirt. They don't even get to wear sportswear. So I think it's very interesting, as I said, growing up for me, being influenced by my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and how they dressed. And again, like I said, they weren't rich. None of them were. They were okay. They drove Cadillacs and they wore tailor-made suits, and very nice clothing and fit well, and that influenced me, and I think allowed me the opportunity or the permission to think it was okay to do that as well, you know. But you know, when I became aware of the Sapeur movement, it reminded me of where I come from, because we're talking about stone cold ghettos, man, where you know, there's no opportunity, there's no jobs, but yet you see the men walking through, you know, everything is, you know, like that. So it's kind of the same as my point, you know. I can relate to it as well.
Yeah. But that's exactly. But in fact, for me, the hip hop was the first influence, because back in the days, like Nunas say, we used to wear Rocawear, Shanjon, Fubu, Mecca, Kalkeni, all these brands, because they were black brands for us in Europe. When you're wearing a Kalkeni suit or something, it was like, wow. You know, you have Biggie Smalls in Gianni Versace and Tupac with all that shirt. That was the same shirt my uncle was wearing in the days, with the glasses and you know, I got that kind of connection. You know, the hip hop and the Congolese culture are very close in fact.
Ideology.
We don't talk about the jewelry. We don't talk about the jewelry, but it's the same approach for the sapeur and for the hip hop culture. We can talk about Dapper Dan and all that shiny suit and all that stuff. Is the same. It's the same suit you can find for the sapeur. The fact is, right now it's cool because we jack off the fashion for me, you know, like with Virgil, with Imana ici, with Marché Noir, with all that African designer. Right now, it's really cool because we used to pay to wear Gucci, to wear Yohji Yamamoto, and right now, that's what we made with Badi. We made a song called Virgil Abloh. It was to celebrate Virgil, but also to celebrate all the African fashion and design, because finally, I hope finally we take we how to say that, or due, I don't know, sorry.
Non, we en français, tu voulais dire comment?
En fait, on reprend notre influence, en fait. C'est nous qui avons.
We take back, ownership of
our influence.
Yeah. That's
that bilingual perception. Coréon Dú. By the way, before you jump in fresh, let me just say one thing. You mentioned these names of great designers, but there's one person that is here with us that is very much underrated, that a lot of people may not even know of in that sense, because and he emphasized a lot on his work in the TV world, etc. But brother Coréon Dú, you are a precursor in many ways, my man. You know, you way too fucking humble to my taste. You know, so let's because you can curse on my show, by the way. Please, Nunas, just before you get in, Coréon Dú, speak a little bit about your creation, man, because
about we do.
It's very important. Yes, please.
Well, actually, funny enough. Before we do so. Interesting. So I started designing or attempting to design in 2001, and it was just more because, again, as someone who grew up outside of Angola, but within a very African household, because my parents are from Angola, so my mom from Angola, my stepdad's family from Côte d'Ivoire. So I would say that pretty much inside of my house was very African. Outside, I was in America. And before that, I was in Portugal. And when I finally discovered actually African textiles, especially something called samakaka, which is from the south of Angola, I was very intrigued because obviously I had seen all the all the wax, which which are Dutch fabrics with African and South Asian inspired prints. But then when I saw textiles that were actually made locally, that was to me like a whole new world. Or just hanging out, with all the Malian tailors that used to exist in Luanda back then. That was kind of like my pastime in the holidays. That really made me fall in love with the creation process of making things, and things kind of grew organically from there. So I started out with like an haute couture brand in Angola, which was ZND, which was my first foray into that. I worked very shortly with Projeto Mental, Tecasala and Shunos. I had the pleasure of being, a consulting creative director for them. I did a few collections with them that were at Tokyo Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, all that. And then obviously I had also have my own brand, We Do, which is a bit more sports focused, which is funny because I went from like haute couture to working with Projeto Mental, which are a bit more formal wear, sartorial focused, and they do have that very, I would say, like Afrofuturistic dandy vibe about them. And then, what we do, I always try to make things that are a bit more accessible and comfortable because I live in sort of like sporty streetwear. So I try to translate, especially the visual and textile and texture experiences from the region of Africa where Angola is, that Central Southern African vibe into that. So so I've done We Do for a while. Currently, although the struggle is real, it is currently available for retail in Dallas, Texas, in London, and in Angola as well. Online, we're trying.
I will make sure to have the links to all your stores in the description section of this video on YouTube, by the way.
And I'll say this, Boddhi. Okay, I won't be as humble about one thing, which is I will say this. You're welcome to all the reggaeton artists that dress like me, and that discovered African swag post 2014. Because I'm not going to name names, but a lot of people, if you look at I like to say pre bailando kizomba, how reggaeton artists used to dress like, and then this African kid showed up, and they stepped up their game. So I'm happy about that.
Amazing. I like that. Yeah. Fresh Nunas, drop in the knowledge because okay, this is the thing, right? Why this panel is so important to me is because first of all, I believe in so many ways it echoes the conversation we had about kill your heroes, or better yet, have you may not even have a preconceived idea about anyone, but you may have an impression on people. And then when you connect, and when we connect everyone together, you're like, oh shit, oh this guy is super cool. This guy is super cool. It's like, oh shit. So I'm looking at Nunas the way we met. I remember we met in Miami during Winter Music Conference. I don't remember which year it was, but it was many moons ago. And I looked at that guy's style. I was like, yo, that brother is so stylish, but it's so weird. The way you look was just weird. I was like, yo, and you were, and Nunas was, and you gotta remember, Nunas. We are Winter Music Conference. So it's like you got all the big parties, and Nunas just stands out with the looks. And it's just like one of them things like this brother, and he's really tall and skinny, but he's not skinny. We say in Africa, if you see somebody skinny, ask them, is it disease or is it natural? Because if it's natural, Don't mess with them. And so anyway, with that being said, Nunas, I'm really happy that you're with us in this panel as well, because I think that you're also a visionary, you're a philosopher, you're a man who has great taste in music, and also very underrated for your contribution on so many levels, not only just music, but also culturally in Mozambique. You were part of many of the movements that were in their, conceiving phases. And you took part in a lot of things, but always had like a bit of a backseat position. Tell us a little bit about that and, some of your future projects.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, I'm this lucky guy that I'm in the beginning of great things, but then I go to something else and fade out. And then,
I'm the same.
Away. I connected with you a lot. Like what you were saying, you're connecting, and I end up fading out. And, after living in the desert, I learned the sand end up covering and, until someone goes and digs and finds it and, hey, it's the gold. But but with that said, I remember when Armando was starting his brand. I went to Armando with Jimmy to see the shoes, and he was talking about, the quality, because I saw all these things, like Armando putting the shoes, like, this is the new model and stuff. And I was really impressed. I'm like, this guy, we're all trying to make T-shirts or clothing brand. And this guy's making shoes. I'm like, yo, why is he